Your sexual behavior affects society. Everyone around you is directly impacted by the sexual decisions you make, whether you would like to accept that or not. And throughout this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why and how that takes place, with 4 specific reasons as to why sexual behavior can affect society negatively. And in the case of the West and most of the modernized first world, this is happening at a faster rate. So with that said, let's start with the Bible verse that encompasses the theme of this topic, and we're going to get right into it. Hebrews 13 verse 4 states that marriage is honorable in all, and the bed is undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge in the end, right? So, how does anyone's private sexual behavior affect the public? After all, we are told that 2 consenting adults should be free to do whatever they want, right? Well, the answer is no. Now let me paint you a picture. Let's say you have a city, a county, or a small nation with a population of 1 million inhabitants. Now let's say just 6 of them are adulterers. In other words, people that are married, but they're cheating, they're betraying each other with someone else. Number 2, we have 6 fornicators. Fornicators meaning just single people who are dating, but they're sleeping around, they're hooking up, which can involve getting their feelings involved, having kids out of wedlock, things like that, passing around STDs. And thirdly, homosexuals and all of that gang, which, as we know, again, more STDs. But if it's just 6 people doing that out of 1 million, is it really worth the hassle? In fact, you might even say, well, as long as it's behind closed doors, Christian, who are we to judge, right? But what happens if that number and that sin begins to multiply, as it has in the West? What if that number becomes 100,000 people who are adulterers, fornicators, and homosexuals? 100,000 out of 1 million, that's a tenth of the population. That's quite a lot. Well, what if we up those numbers to 500,000? That's half the population engaging in very dangerous sexual activity. All of a sudden, that sin begins to stack, and its consequences will be in plain sight. Divorce. So, children growing up with more problems. This creates a lot of bitterness, a lot of resentment. It lowers the morale of men and women. They give up on life, usually after a divorce. STDs, this can affect so many people's health. Broken families, again, this goes in hand with divorce, right? But in the case where the kids are born because the parents were just random people hooking up, sleeping around, just dating without intention of committing to each other, and they just walk away because they consented to sleep together, but they don't consent for the responsibility of being a mum and a dad, what happens? You have broken families. You have more kids than ever before coming out of wedlock, which is what we see now in the 2020s. 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, to even see kids being born out of wedlock or single parent households, even that was it was looked at very badly. You go back 100 years ago and plus, that never happened. Unless you were a widow, right? The husband died in a war, or the wife died in childbirth or of an illness. Other than that, there was no one walking out on anyone. Obviously, this creates a lot of pride as well in people's hearts. They harden themselves, they become angry, they become resentful to the opposite sex because they're looking for love in the wrong way. And obviously lust. The lust is what all of this comes together. But all of these sins break down trust and safety within the community, which ultimately ruins the overall quality of life for most. And this is what we see on a mass scale. The US and Canada, in Western Europe, Central Europe, even places Northern, Southern Europe, Central America, very promiscuous, Southern America, places in Africa, these things are slowly happening. Same thing in certain countries in Asia, things are slowly getting worse. And if you think this doesn't affect, it does. How many of you, whether it's you directly or someone you know, comes from a broken home? You know someone who has an STD, or whose family's split and divorced and they still can't get over it and they're an older person. How many people have issues with their lust or pride? Look at the sexual degeneracy we see now. Young men, most boys by the age of 11 in the West are exposed to pornography. Young girls are being exploited, or they're being taught to read erotic novels when they're young. All of this is causing just sexual deviance, which is pitting men and women against each other. It's elevating unnatural desires, selfish sexual desires. There is no love anymore. And for most people in the West, this is what we are seeing. And it's the example that I said. If it's only 6 people, you think, oh, it's not that bad. But what happens when it's half the population, or a quarter, or a tenth, or a third? That's a lot of people that become dysfunctional in how they associate to other people. You have more men and women going to their job or coming back home, hating their lives. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you're going through a divorce, or you have STDs, or you're going through a broken family, or whatever, and all these things are happening to you, you disconnect. You stop caring about the well-being of others, about society, about humanity. You're dealing with your own problems. You become inward. You have to take care of your problems. You, in a way, become more selfish and more bitter. You harden your heart and you don't trust others. You know? And this is what happens. Random example. You could be a guy who, I don't know, let's say you have an accident and you need life-saving surgery. And let's say the surgeon who's giving you this operation, let's say him and his wife don't get along well, and she cheats on him, and he's going through a divorce, and he's struggling even mentally to function, and he needs to be mentally sharp to give you that operation. And let's say for whatever reason, the day of the surgery, he can't focus right, cuts the wrong artery, and you bleed out or whatever, medical negligence. He loses his license and you lose your life. All because what's going on at home in his private sexual life isn't working out the way it should be. And that's having a ripple effect through society. We see all this sexual degeneracy by the alphabet people. I can't say the name or I'll get banned. That's promoted everywhere now. I remember growing up, they wanted to get married back then. We let them get married. Next step is they want to adopt children. And next thing is, well, now they're teaching it. Schools, back even when I was back at university years ago, they were still promoting it then. Now now you misgender someone, you go straight to prison. More STDs than ever before, more children coming out of wedlock, more and more young people have lower self-esteem, it's affecting their confidence. This is why I am telling you, just a simple sexual sin can have a butterfly effect throughout society. And we are seeing it firsthand in the Western world. So whenever a sexual deviant tells you they just want to do what they want, as long as they're not hurting anyone, don't believe it and don't support them. You can call people out in a loving way, because most people that come from a broken home, or for whatever reason at a young age they were exposed to the wrong information, they deserve a second chance. And you can communicate, you can teach them, you can reach out and help them and correct them. Most people just need a second chance and a helping hand full of love. And if you offer that to them, they can turn things around. Okay? I had a comment on YouTube just a week ago, one of my older videos, which was titled, "Why You Will Regret Sleeping Around." And this guy said that even though he has a girlfriend and he loves her, he was watching YouTube videos about red pill that were telling him that as a man you need to sleep around and have your fun. But when he watched my video, it convinced him that no, he shouldn't do that. He should be loyal, he should honor her, that sleeping around is bad and you're going to hurt women and yourself. And thanks to that video, he realized that he actually loves his girlfriend and he would never want to do such a thing, and that he's glad he watched it, because again, you can be easily misled by the wrong information. And that made me happy, so I wanted to share that with all of you and just use that as an example since we're talking about this topic. You could be someone, a young guy who's innocent, or a young girl, and you're going off to college, university, and you're around the wrong people, and peer pressure, propaganda, the wrong information conditions you that you should hook up, you should sleep around. And you rack up a body count and now you've got an STD. Now you have AIDS. Or now, nobody of quality wants to date you because they know you have a body count. These are decisions that you cannot unmake. So prevention is better than cure. And if you are currently living that way, stop where you're at and don't make it any worse. Okay? So, let's get into the 4 reasons why, a more deeper level, why this actually affects society. Number 1, deviant behavior outside of biblical sexual norm, man and woman, husband and wife, whether it's public or private, will always poison the culture of a country as it breaks down the family structure and seeks to be praised and worshipped in the public square. We see feminism being pushed and promoted, red pill agenda, everyone is an individual, LGBT, date whoever you want, marriage is demonized, families are looked down upon in the West. There is no institution that is pro-family, you typically, maybe a few church institutions and such, but the secular government, the public system, the education, the news, the media, the entertainment industry, it's all very much pro-adultery. You watch all these movies or you listen to the music, it's all about sex, it's all about hooking up, it's all about how to cheat, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, don't settle down when you're young, hook up, sleep around, marry when you're older, you don't need kids, they're expensive and a waste of time. And this is what the young people are being poisoned with. It's been going on for at least 40, 50 years in the West. So you want to be really careful with that. The CIA, I mean, all these other institutions, the way they control things. I mean, I think there was one of the top workers in the CIA, he was saying how in his family he'd never really let them have a TV because it's all propaganda. And the old saying goes, having a TV, a television in your living room is like having a Jew in your living room because they're in there, right? They're controlling you. So this is what's happening to the West, and you want to be really careful with that. It's very, very dangerous. And it's really gotten to that point where, I mean, you tell someone in the West, for you younger people, you want to marry young and have a family, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. But if you say, yeah, I'm sleeping around, fracking up a body count, I'm just having my fun, you're praised. It's encouraged, it's promoted. You go to these colleges or universities now, they're selling condoms in dorms to students. They're promoting hookup culture. It is so bad. Even when I was younger and I went to university, thank goodness I never did any of that, I saw how it affected a lot of people's lives. There were so many girls, you could always hear them crying in the dorm rooms. Different guys would come in, pump and dump them and just leave. And a lot of these were innocent, sweet girls, and they're just losing their virginity to some random guy. And they're getting pumped and dumped. And a lot of the guys, they were getting their hearts broken as well. And it's like, this is really a failure of parents or family that are not educating their children on sexual purity, on love, on honor. People are operating on the wrong modus operandi, and it is ruining their lives. So, number 2, tolerance is never enough. And all tolerance is just simply a code word for people with weak values. You don't tolerate evil. You don't tolerate degeneracy. You call it out. It really is that simple. You need to people need to start making a stand for what is right. Sexual deviants, degenerates, they want your unconditional support for the normalization of their behavior. If not, you become their sworn enemy as they seek to destroy your reputation and livelihood. Right? You say anything now against the alphabet people, and you live in the West, and you work in the corporate world or anything like that, you are done. You say the wrong thing, you're done. They can never hide you, they can sue you, because we let it get to that point. Because, love is love, and if I say anything, I'm being rude and hurtful, and I'm being a judgy Christian, so I better not say anything. And now look at the world we live in. It's time to make a stand. If we tolerate their sin, it will only inflame their wicked passions and cause them to pursue more grotesque and damaging forms of perversion, which not only affects them, but it hurts society, hurts children involved, it hurts strangers, people that have a soul, people that have a shot at life, and they're having it ruined because of other people's sin. That's not fair. That's selfish. And that has to change. Because if we do not draw a line in the sand, then every man will do what is right in his own eyes. And that's exactly what people, they say they're doing. I think it's right, I'm not bothering anyone. It's private, it's behind closed doors. And I will definitely agree. If you go back 50, 70 years ago, people who did this sin, they would try and do it in closed doors. But when they were caught, they were exiled. They were punished. They were given other methods to help them. Not always. There were definitely people who were rude to them, which is wrong. People shouldn't be mistreated. But when you have to safeguard a society, again, the example of 1 million inhabitants and half of them are all degenerates, you don't have a functioning society anymore. You need to fracture that, and you need to start from scratch. And that's probably what's going to happen to the West, the way things are going. And gentlemen, it's never been an easier time to be a man. The standard is set so low. Keep your word, have good values, be loyal, keep your head up high, value your culture, your heritage, honor God. And you know what? You're on your way to changing the course of history in the next couple decades as things change. Or you can just keep being a victim and whining and complaining about how hard things are and let your bloodline die out. It's up to you. But you need to draw a line in the sand. You know, as Christ said, let your yes be yes and no be no. Anything that becomes more of this is of evil. Your yes is a yes, your no is a no. If something is a sin, if something is degenerate, it's degenerate. You don't try and normalize it. You don't have to normalize something if it's not normal. The reason why it's not normal is because it's not natural. You don't normalize things that are not right. You have to make a stand. Number 3. Whether two fallible, sinful humans consent to something is irrelevant. How many people consent to get married, they don't vet each other properly, and it ends up being a divorce because one of them settled or something's wrong, there aren't red flags and such. Yeah, they consented when they were happy in a state of euphoria or lust, but they didn't logically assess the situation. How many people get in business, or how many times have you bought a product or a service that you do not like? You consented at the time, but then you change your mind because you don't like it, or you were misinformed or misled, or you didn't do your research. How many young people go out to the club, or they're going out with dating someone, they hook up on a second, third day, the girl gets knocked up, she keeps the baby. And how many guys run away from that? They don't want to be a single dad. Or how many guys date a girl and they want to keep the baby, but she wants to get an abortion and she does it. And he's all upset because she got rid of the child. Hey, you consented to be together. Why are you not happy? Because of a lack of shared values. So just because two people consent to something doesn't really mean anything if it's not rooted in truth and love, if it's not righteous. What ultimately matters is that morality is objectively determined by God's word and not by your subjective passions, which are fleeting, which come and go, which can wane, which can change based on your health, based on your age, based on your morals and values. And if you're not aligned with the words God, I wouldn't even question anything that comes out of your mouth. As people who bear God's image, we have no right to redefine God's morality. It doesn't matter how much we love our sin, but saying we consent to something sinful doesn't make it right. And I'm being serious, gentlemen. If you know a guy who's watching porn, who's jerking off all the time, and he's lusting after women, you need to call him out and say, that is disgusting. What if that's your sister? What if that's your mother? What if that's your daughter? You know, there's all these posts now on the internet of young girls reading erotic novels. Basically, they're reading porn, and in the comments you see men say, like, why are you all reading this? Basically, it's terrible. And the women are like, no, it's not porn at all, it's normal. It's not. So it's like all of this sexual degeneracy has to go. So it's like you need to start calling people out. If you have a friend, family member, and he's talking about porn, tell him how degenerate it is. Tell him how it's wrong and he should turn from that. Explain to him the negative consequences. Ladies, you have a girlfriend who's lusting after other men or who's doing things that she shouldn't be, call her out. Explain to her how dangerous and how bad and how hurtful that is to her and her future. Guys, you need to start calling people out. That's it. Just because a guy consents to watch porn doesn't mean it's good for him. There are many people who consent to take drugs, and it doesn't mean their body consents to the after effects, does it now? You need to be very careful. And lastly, even if it were true, and it's not, that such sins could be kept private, we must still expose this wickedness. All deeds are naked and exposed before the eyes of him to whom we must give an account. If we really love our neighbours, we'll speak up and warn them that no sin is private and that God's justice will find them out in the end. So to add to what I said before, how if you know of someone who is saying or doing or living in a way that is sexually degenerate, they're cheating, they're sleeping around, they're watching porn, they have problems with their lust, for example, and you tell them why it's wrong, you can take it a step further and tell them that, hey, God loves you, but He's watching everything that you do, and in the end, you're going to be found out for your sin. And whatever's done in the darkness does get brought to the light in the end. God will not be mocked. So you want to be very careful with what you do, because you do reap what you sow. Okay, so be very careful with that, and you can tell them that. You can give them the gospel, tell them that you're saved by faith and grace alone, and just accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and to really get their morals right with God, get the foundation right. Once they have that, things will be fine. Because in the end, the conclusion, as I've written here at the end, those of us who love the Lord must hate evil. If you can sit here and say you love what is good, you must stand against what is wrong, what is evil, what is degenerate. And this is exactly why you must really safeguard your integrity by being observant of how sexual behavior affects society, because it does. Okay? If you have one little kid, one teenager, 10 teenage boys that are struggling with their lust, you might not think nothing of it now. But what happens in 10 years? Those men grow up to be sexually perverse or degenerate. What happens if it's 100 of them, 1,000 of them, millions of them, which is what you see with pornography? That really damages the relationship between men to women. If you have a million women in the Western world, 100 million women in the Western world reading erotica, single mothers sleeping around, people really damaging themselves. These are things that you can't undo. I mean, we haven't even seen the long-term consequences yet of people from the age of like their teens to like their 90s, because it's only happening in this generation. So you want to be really careful. And I'm going to close this video on one last thing. I watched a video a couple months back, and it was about this young guy. It's a shame, really good looking guy, but his life is ruined. He's in a wheelchair, his legs don't work properly because he has AIDS. And he doesn't have AIDS because he's sleeping around. In fact, he's a virgin. Why does he have AIDS? It was transmitted via blood. How? His father had AIDS, lied to his mother. So mum and dad got married, and then the mum was pregnant, so the mum got the AIDS through the blood from the father, the husband, and he got it in the womb. So his mother had an infection because of that. She passed away young. His twin brother died in the womb. He was born, but he didn't develop properly because of the STD. So he was born, his legs didn't function properly. And when he was a young boy, his father passed away of the AIDS. And his father never apologized, never regretted it, never said he's sorry, nothing. And this young man is in his 20s now, and he was sharing his testimonial how one sexual sin can ruin everybody's life. He lost his mother, he lost his unborn twin brother, and his father died, all because of his father's sin. And this poor young man can never go out there, have children of his own because he has AIDS. His legs don't work, he can't marry, he can never father children of his own because he'd be putting a woman's health at risk through AIDS. Do you see how dangerous this is? That affected one of those people. And now he has to bear that. He has to live with the consequences of that because of what? His father's sin? How many men out there are marrying women with STDs who are sleeping around? And next thing you know, you wonder why your kids are screwed up or you have problems. Or you're the one who has it. You want to be really careful. I get some emails from people. I'm like a Catholic priest getting confession from all these people. And some of the things people tell me, I'm like, you've ruined your life, mate. There's nothing I can do to help you. It's between you and the Lord now. Like, when you, through sexual sin, when you damage your life, man to woman, you can't undo that. When it comes to your health, you can lose money, you can get sick, change diet, change some things around and you'll be fine. When it comes to finances, you can lose money, you can make more money. I mean, there's always opportunities, right? But when it comes to relationships, having kids out of wedlock, how can you unmake having kids? You can't. How can you unmake an STD or AIDS? You can't. Maybe antibiotics with some of them, but you can't really, you know. Getting involved with the wrong person, you're cheating, you're sleeping around, somebody gets vengeful or jealous and they come after you, you're putting your life at risk. All because of what? You're lustful. So, gentlemen, you want to be really careful, and I wholeheartedly believe sexual behavior affects society. Be vigilant, get your morals right. And I'll link some videos now at the end on the screen about sexual purity so that you get a better understanding of where to take it from now. So with that said, you'll have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families, and I'll see you all in the next one.